Do you believe in ghosts and ghouls and goblins? Or perhaps you believe in aliens? Do I got an anime for you? The anime I'm talking about is called Dan to Dan, and it Dan to Dan. Shit, it's kind of hard to say. Dan to Dan, like you say it fast. Anyway, it just came out. It came out like a few weeks ago, and I've been watching it. I saw a clip on it on I think Instagram Reels, and it was like when bro was telling me to watch Dan to Dan, and it was a clip of this like old hag saying, I'll let you suckle my tits if you let me gobble your dong." Like, I kid you no joke, that's actually in the show, and that shit was actually fucking funny. And so from that, I went on some Crunchyroll and I looked it up, and I was like, oh, all right, let me take a look at this. It follows a middle school, high schooler called Momo, and she comes from a family of spirit mediums. And she believes in ghosts and ghouls and goblins and all that bullshit. She ends up protecting this one kid at one time from getting bullying. His name is Ukuran. I think that's what his name is. And because of that, he was like, "I know why you want to be friends. Because of aliens." And he like shows her like a magazine of fucking aliens. He's like, "You believe him? I know you believe him." And she's like, "No, like I just didn't want to see you get bullied." And so they end up making a bet to go to. He bets her to go to some hospital that's supposed to have aliens, and then she bets him to go to some under like some like walkway like that's under the road, and it's like haunted. So they both go at spooky times, probably around 10 or so, whatever time they fucking go, and they're going and they're on the phone and they're like walking around. And the reel I was talking about earlier, this is when that comes in with the old ass granny fucking chilling there, and he looks at her and she's like, "I'll let you suckle my tits if you let me gobble your dong." And he just starts fucking booking it. And then the girl tells him on the phone, "Hey, don't run, like she's just gonna possess you," which he does get possessed. The boy was cooked. But at the same time that that's happening, she gets abducted by aliens. Like 3 like fucking ugly ass looking motherfuckers. Not some generic ass, bald headed, big ass eyed aliens. No, some like creepy looking ass fucking aliens come out of nowhere and start and just like look at her and like, "All right, we're taking you away." And she starts running, but then they fucking grab her and they like rip her clothes off and take her. And then the next scene is like her just being like strapped to a fucking chair, and they're like, "Yeah, we are all guys and we can't fuck. So we're gonna fuck you and you're gonna give us baby," basically is what happens. While that's happening, she gets a call on her phone, and one of the aliens picks up her phone, and through the phone, like he reaches with his hand and like fucking kicks the fuck or punches the fuck out of that guy, and it's like him being possessed by that like turbo Grammy or whatever. And she comes out of the phone and like teleports through the phone or whatever. I don't fucking know how that worked. And she's like, "Let me gobble your dongs." And so she's going around biting them all by the crotch. It's actually quite hilarious. I thought that shit was fucking funny. I was like giggling watching that shit. Like, what the fuck? She's actually biting their fucking dongs. And it ends with like the possessed guy, Okuran, getting his ass beat, thrown into a wall while he's possessed, and he says that he's like never gonna let nobody hurt Momo. But he ends up getting fucking a can of whoop ass, and sits right the fuck down when he tries to get up. And then she has some fucking oasis moment and wakes the fuck up and unlocks some eternal powers. Like the whole fucking background is like the galaxy and shit, and she's like fucking her hair's floating like she's like Wanda or something, and becomes a Scarlet Witch and just fucking uses her powers and fucking blasts that motherfucker. And yeah, that's basically the first episode. At the end, she's like basically fully naked, and the whole time she was obsessed with like this one guy, Ken Kaneki or some shit. I don't fucking remember the name, but she's obsessed with that, talking about how she wish she had a boyfriend like that and this and that. Towards the end of the episode, after everything happened, after all the climax and stuff, they're walking down a road, and they're talking about going back to where that granny was so that he could be unpossessed or something. And he's like, "I'm a bit shy. Can you please cover up, because she's just in bra and underwear?" And then she goes, that's a line that my guy would say. And then she goes, "Well, I don't know what your name is. What's your name?" And he goes, "Oh, my name? Ken Kaneki." And she is like, what the fuck? So she tells him, we're changing your name to Ukuran. So that's how he ends up getting his actual name, Ukuran, because I guess he didn't look like anything like she wanted to be with, which is pretty fucked up. It's a pretty fucked up message. Not gonna lie to you. Anyway, and continuing to the second episode, and they try to go to her house, but there's like a what was it, like a fucking, like a barrier or something. I forgot what it was. It was a piece of paper that says that he can't go in or he's gonna get burnt, because he tries to go in and it fucking burns the shit out of him. So she has to take it off. They go inside, they change and stuff and whatnot, and then they get a ringing on the doorbell, and he's like, has your doorbell always ring like that? Because it's a pretty eerie ringing from the doorbell. And she goes, there's two doorbells. There's one for normal people and there's one for ghosts. And then that's when she realized she didn't put back that sigil or that barrier back up. So there's a fucking ghost there. But our main character says, no, it's a fucking alien or some shit. I don't remember. It was something about it being an alien is what he said. Anyway, so they go out because they're trying to find a way to be able to put that sigil back on so it could just burn that ship without burning him. And so what they end up doing is, or actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry. But when they go outside, they ended up finding out that the whole place is surrounded in, it's basically like a big box. They're in a big box with this big ass fucking spirit. And this dude is a big ass motherfucker. So they have to battle it. They ended up, Momo ends up able to control like the spirit that's in like Ukuran's like body that's possessing him, and she taps into his power, I guess, and he transformed in this to this total bad, sad emo boy. Like, he's emo as fuck, but he's fucking badass. He has powers out the wazoo and goes crazy. So he goes into this sad guy talking about how life's pity in this, but I'll do whatever I can. And she's over there like controlling him and stuff. And he uses his power to like whoop their ass, but he can't, because he's like he's only done it like once or twice or whatever. Or actually, this was the first time he's ever done it. Sorry, getting ahead of myself. Later in the chapter, he's only done it. This is his first time, so he like knocks his leg out. It falls, and because they realize that it's following a sumo like match. Like, you put your hand down or whatever, like you're out or something. I don't know the sumo rules, but that's basically how they explained it. And so the ghost ended up cheating, but they ended up finding a way, nevertheless, to be able to get the spirit out. They do. They get out, but by this point, this girl is totally drained. So she loses grip of the powers that he has, and he goes berserk and gets repossessed. Enters Granny. And Granny is a baddie. Won't lie. She comes in totally badass, swinging her bat like she's Dave Robinson, about to go ahead and hit a home run, because out of nowhere comes a fucking brick and a nail, and it hits and it knocks that fucking thing on its ass. Next thing you know, she's going toe-to-toe with Super Granny Turbo. Actually, I like that name. That was a funny-ass name. And she's talking to how she outsmarted her, how she's fucking dumb as shit. And she traps her. And then it cuts to the next scene where they're inside and she's asleep in her bed. Or Momo wakes up asleep in her bed. And she's like, wait a minute. The fuck happened? Where's Ukuran? She's like freaking out, and she goes down and she's like, Grandma, did you kill Ukuran? And she's like, relax. He's out in the shed or some shit. So she goes talks to him. Some shit. Sorry, I'm getting off track. It's a long ass story. I didn't realize how long it was. Anyway, back on track. So she goes outside, she talks to him, and she talks about how she thought she was dead and she was crying and blah blah blah. And he's like, no, I'm alive, I'm cool. I just gotta stay in this box. Because she built like there's a little like shed, and I guess she put a spell or a barrier to protect him to where he won't get burned. It's like, I just gotta stay in this box. So Granny comes out and they start talking about the cursed spirit that is hiding within inside him, and she goes, well, the way to get this out is by killing her, essentially. So they come up with this genius plan of training. This becomes a training arc for, our young Ukuran and his cursed spirit that resides inside of him. He's telling him he needs to start working out, and he needs to start being able to control the spirit that is inside him so that he can unleash his fucking fully badass emo boy powers. Anyway, they cook up a plan on what to do, and it's basically just challenging her to a race because she's like the fastest as fuck. She used to be known as like the 1,000,000-kilometer granny or some shit before she was Turbo Granny. They come up with a plan to take her out by challenging her to a race once they get there, and they do, and they take her out. It was actually a pretty badass fight. Not gonna lie. She was known. Oh, it was the 100-kilometer granny. That's what it was. She was known as a 100-kilometer granny, and so the way that she beats her in a race is getting on a train, and the train goes 120, and the granny's like, or she's like, you can't keep up. You only have 100 kilometers. But she ends up outsmarting her and getting on the train. And right when you think our protagonists were about to lose, they win because they cross over into another territory that is heavily onto the medium side or whatever. And they end up being able to take out Turbo Granny. And that was the end of the last episode. They just came out with a new episode, so I'm about to watch it and see what's next. Super excited because it's really good. The animation is really good. I do like the storyline. I do like the topic of the ghosts and ghouls and the aliens and stuff. That is pretty, I think, in my way, unique. I haven't seen a lot of anime, but I've seen a lot of anime. But a lot of it doesn't really talk about, I guess, ghosts and ghouls and goblins and aliens. It's more so curse, or which I guess in a way it's the same thing. It's still ghosts, just in a different term. But more of mine is just fantasy, regardless, like Naruto and like Black Clover and stuff. The animation is really good. I think the storyline is also really good. I really do like the characters. I think it's pretty funny. It is a pretty funny comical anime, which you don't see a lot of those. But yeah, that's about it. And deuces.